Good afternoon and welcome to the March 8th, 2023 Mesa Planning and Zoning Board public hearing. We'll begin with a roll call. I am Board Member Crockett. Vice Chair Ayers is absent today. Board Member Allen.
Here.
Board Member Sarkisian.
Here.
Board Member Peterson.
Here.
Board Member Pitcher.
Here.
And Board Member Montez.
Here.
Great. We have, as you heard in the introduction, a consent agenda that we will go through here momentarily. But one of the items, we've had a request to speak, which is item 4A. So we will pull that off of consent agenda, and we'll hear from a resident that wants to make public comment on that item. Board Member Pitcher has volunteered to read our consent agenda, so I will turn it over to him.
Thank you. The consent agenda for the Wednesday, March 8, 2023 Planning and Zoning Board meeting public hearing. First matter is item 2A, minutes of the February 22nd, 2023 study session and regular meeting. Second matter is item 3A, ZON 22-00717, Rio Salado Fourplex, District 3, within the 500 block of West Rio Salado Parkway, North Side, located north of Rio Salado Parkway and west of Country Club Drive. Site plan review. This request will allow for a multiple residence development. The staff recommendation is continue to the April 12, 2023 Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Next matter is item 3B, ZON 22-00746, Mesa Grandview, District 1, within the 3400 to 3500 blocks of North Greenfield Road, West Side, and within the 4000 and 4400 blocks of East Virginia Street, located north of McDowell Road, on the west side of Greenfield Road. Site plan review and special use permit. This request will allow for an industrial development. Staff recommendation, approval with conditions. Next matter is item 3C, ZON 22-01230, Longbow Business Park, Lot 7, District 5, within the 5400 block of East McDowell North Side, located east of Higley Road on the north side of McDowell Road. Site plan review. This request will allow for the development of an office warehouse building. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item 4A, as you mentioned, is off consent. The last matter is item 5A, ZON 22-01207, Falcon Field Executive Hangars Leasehold Condominiums, District 5, within the 4800 block of East Falcon Drive, south side located north of McKellips Road and west of Higley Road. Preliminary plat for a leasehold condominium plat. Staff recommendation, approval with conditions.
Thank you, Board Member Pitcher. Before I ask for a motion, do we have any blue cards on any of these items, the consent agenda items?
Chair, we do not.
No, okay, awesome. Then can I have a motion to approve our consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and vote. Board Member Allen, what is your vote?
Aye.
Okay, so by your vote of 6 ayes, no noes, and Vice Chair Ayers absent, you have approved the consent agenda. So I'll turn the time over now to staff for a presentation on agenda item 4A.
Members, this is zoning case ZON 22-00714, and it's a request to rezone the subject site from office commercial to multiple residence District 2 with a planned area development overlay. Let me do that one again. It's a request to rezone the subject site from office commercial and residential multifamily District 2 to residential multifamily District 2 with a planned area development overlay. It's also a request for site plan review, and it would allow for the development of a residential multifamily project. The site is located south of Baseline Road on the east side of Haas, and it's also located north of Desert Lane. The existing zoning, once again, is office commercial and residential multifamily District 2, and they're proposing residential multifamily District 2 with a planned area development overlay. The general plan character area designation is neighborhood for this site. The purpose of the neighborhood character area is to provide for safe places for people to live and a diversity of housing types. And the residential multifamily District 2 is a primary zoning district within that character area, and the residential multifamily District 2 density is a primary land use in that area. This is a photo of the site looking east from Haas Road, and this is a photo of the site looking north from Desert Lane. The site's plan for the project shows 58 individual units. There are 4 single-story, 2-bedroom buildings, and those are the goldenrod or the yellow structures on the plan. And there are 6 single-story, 1-bedroom duplexes, and those are the green structures, or the green buildings on the plan. The rest of the buildings are 2-story and have either 1, 2, or 3-bedroom, and they're duplexes. The site has gated access from both Haas Road and Desert Lane. There are amenity areas throughout the development. The site is providing 122 parking spaces, 74 which are covered, and that includes some garage spaces as well. And 122 parking spaces are required. The landscape plan shows landscaping around the perimeter of the site, as well as the interior and the parking areas, and along the foundation bases. As a part of the planned area development, the applicant is requesting several deviations from the Mesa zoning ordinance development standards. First, along the south property line, they're requesting a building, where the Mesa zoning ordinance would require a 30-foot building setback. They're providing a 9-foot, 8-inch setback, and that's to a 2-story building. Along the east property line, where the single-story structures are located, they're required to have a single-story building setback of 25 feet. They're providing 20. Along the north property line, they're required to have a 25-foot landscape yard, where the access and the amenity sites are adjacent to that north property line. They're providing 7, but to the east of that, they're providing, I believe they're providing 30 feet, in fact, which is more than what's required. Along the east property line, once again, they're required to have a 25-foot landscape yard, and they're only providing 20 feet. Along the west property line, adjacent to the church, they're required to have a 15-foot landscape area. They're only providing 7 feet, and that's the landscape area between the west property line and then their access drive off of Desert Lane. Minimum separation on the site for 1-story is required to be 25 feet. At some of their single-story locations, they have as little as 2 feet, 4 inches. For the 2-story product, it's required to be 35 feet between buildings, and in most of the areas, it's only 10 feet, 4 inches. The separation between buildings and the parking canopies is required to be 20 feet. They're providing 10. The open space amenity areas are required to have no dimension less than 10 feet, and that's both width and length. And the applicant is requesting that the width only be 8 feet, where the overall length would exceed the development standards. As far as the open space openness, or the requirement for covered open space, in the single-story 2-bedroom product, they're required to have 100 feet of private open space. 50% of that is required to be covered. They're only covering 46 square feet of that. Projection into required setbacks along the east side. Once again, that's single story. The covered patios are allowed to project into required yards by 3 feet. They're requesting to increase that to 4 feet, but that's only for building 1, building type 1 and building 2, which are along the east elevation, or east property line. Throughout the site, 5-foot sidewalks are typically required. They're requesting 4-foot sidewalks. And the foundation bases adjacent to the public entrances, which would be the entrances into the building, each of the units, is required to be 15 feet by code, and they're requesting 10 feet. Another part of this request is for alternative compliance for the elevations. This project was not required to be reviewed through design review because it did not meet the density requirements for that, to require that review. So they're requesting this alternative compliance through site plan review. And I'll just quickly screen through the elevations. So this is building 1 and building 2. Both of those are single story. The rest are 2-story. So building 5, building 6, and building 7. This is the leasing office. And this is the garage. So the alternative compliance request mainly focuses around the requirement for a secondary material, and that material has to cover at least 25% of the exterior walls. And so they're requesting 100% stucco along the rear elevation of the garage, where the garage structure meets the adjacent screen wall or rear yard of the adjacent duplex or unit. And that really only happens at one location, is that that garage building that's on the west side of the project. And then for plans 5 and 7, they're requesting a 24% brick veneer as opposed to 25% requirement. For plans 1, 5, and 6, they're requesting, once again, a reduction in that secondary material requirement. Plan 1, they're requesting 15%, Plan 5, 20%, and Plan 6, 20%. The leasing office, they're also requesting that same alternative compliance to allow 20% brick veneer on the right side of the elevation and 13% brick veneer on the rear elevation. For all the elevations that are the rear, for all rear elevations, they're requesting 100% stucco. And the rear yards are surrounded by masonry block walls. The applicant did complete a citizen participation plan for this project. They held a neighborhood meeting. There were lots of people in attendance at that meeting, and a summary of the concerns and discussions that took place for that meeting are in your notes. As far as the comments to traffic and those issues, transportation did review these plans, and they did not indicate any problems with the proposed plans. Other than the comment we received today to speak on this project, staff has not had any emails or phone calls about this project. So in summary, staff finds that this project complies with the 2040 Mesa General Plan. It complies with the review criteria in Chapter 22 for a planned area development overlay. It complies with the review criteria of Chapter 5 for alternative compliance. And it complies with the review criteria for site plan review in Chapter 69 of the Mesa zoning ordinance. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about the project.
Thank you. Are there questions for Charlotte on this item? Not seeing any, so we'll invite the applicant to come forward at this time, see if he would like to make a presentation, or Mr. Lake.
After the neighborhood comment.
Okay, would you prefer to wait till we have our public hearing?
Let's do that.
Okay, great. Then I will open the public hearing at this time, and let's see if do we have Teresa and Tom Landingham on the line? Who can tell me if they're on the line? Is that? Mr. or Mrs. Landingham, are you there? We'll wait just a minute and see if we can track them down. Not online? Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead and read the comment into the record, and then I think we'll still have you respond, Mr. Lake, to this. But this is Teresa and Tom Landingham. Their address is 2348 South Jocelyn, Mesa, Arizona 85209. They oppose this item. Their comment is concerned about our privacy wall on the east side and the automatic gate. Our wall is separating due to poor construction and footers done in 2001. Why is the gate on Desert Lane and not on Hawes? Increased traffic and parking at Park on Desert Lane could be dangerous to pedestrians. We are also concerned of digging, etc., close to the wall, exposing the footers. Also, the automatic gate won't support constant opening and closing if contacted to our wall. Also concerned of dog park next to homes on Lynch, noise and odors from animals. So that's the comment, and I'll just ask one more time, Mr. and Mrs. Landingham, are you there? Okay, then let me go ahead and close the public hearing. We'll invite Mr. Lake up to provide whatever response you'd like to provide to those comments. And would you provide your name and address for the record, please?
Sean Lake, 1744 South Val Vista, Mesa, Arizona, here on behalf of Evergreen Development. We appreciate the opportunity to be here to discuss this project for some people call them twin homes. The old days we call them duplexes, but it's a residential project that we're looking to do on this property. The zoning that we're requesting is already in place for the balance or most of the site, and really all we're asking for is to rezone the portion along Hawes, kind of that front acre almost, maybe a little bit more, to RM2, which is what the balance of the site is. So it's to bring the whole site into one zoning district. So this remnant leftover infill piece of property can be developed as one piece. And so that's really the request. Let me just address specifically the issues that were raised as opposed to going through my big presentation, if that's the preference, or I can go through, I can talk for 30 minutes if the board wants. I mean, it's a short meeting, but I'd rather go home.
This is just me, but I think we can avoid the 30-minute presentation and go with the condensed version.
Let's go with the condensed. The east wall, as you can see, and let's see, yeah, you can see the cursor here. So this is the east side that runs along this site. I walked the wall today. It's a pretty good wall, but at this bottom location, right up against Hawes Road right here, the pillar up against Hawes Road is starting to peel away. Now, we won't connect or be part or attach to that wall at that location. Now, we can certainly work with that HOA during our construction, and we're doing walls to help shore up that, to kind of help resolve that issue at that location where that pillar is kind of peeling away. We won't be actually, that wall at that location is actually next to our open space and the entrance, and there really won't be any walls connected at that location, so it won't be affecting at that point. The gate off of Desert Lane, and if the neighbors are listening on TV, there's also an access on Hawes. So there's one on Hawes, and there's one on Desert as well, Desert Lane. And so there will be a gate at both entrances. Those gates won't have stability reinforcement from the wall. They'll have their own independent stability reinforcement that we will install, so the gate won't be reliant upon that wall at all. And so the opening and closing of the gates will have no bearing upon the perimeter wall of the development. Desert Lane traffic, we will be making improvements to the north side of Desert Lane. For the most part, it's all done in that area. There's a park on the south side, so we'll be kind of finishing that off with curb gutter and sidewalk, which will help with the pedestrian traffic on there. But also, we won't provide a whole lot of traffic on Desert. It's really a collector. We're going to have a really small development with a lot of access coming in and off of Hawes Road. That's the natural path that I think most people will take. Digging close to the wall. If we, during the course of construction, have any detrimental impact to a wall, we have to repair it. That's our responsibility. So we will take that obligation on. The dog park or the park up on the north side along our north property up here, you will see you will have the main entrance off of Hawes. You'll come into a divided roadway. And then this is kind of the main amenity area with a pool and a turf area, artificial turf area that you can take your dog. Every unit in this project has a rear yard. so people can have their dogs in their rear yard, or if they choose to put them on a leash and walk them to the open space area or walk in the trails around, they can do that. We don't think there'll be a consolidation of noise like you would have at a public dog park where people are coming from a larger area. And so we don't think that will be an issue. But if it does become an issue, they can certainly notify us and we'll work through that. The smell, we don't want the smell. Nobody wants the smell, so we'll clean up after that. So if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to address those.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Any questions? I'm not seeing any, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, well, can I have a motion on this agenda item?
I'd like to move to approve ZON 22-00714 Evergreen at Haas within the 2200 block of South Haas Road, located south of Baseline Road on the east side of Haas Road, rezone from office commercial and multiple residence 2 to multiple residence 2 with a planned area development overlay and site plan review to allow for multiple residence development. Staff recommendation approved with conditions.
Thank you, Board Member.
I would second that.
Thank you, Board Member Allen. Let's go ahead and vote. Board Member Allen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, by your vote of 6 ayes, no nays, and Vice Chair Ayers absent, you have passed agenda item 4A. Is there anything else on the agenda that we need to cover today?
Chair, board members, no, that's all that's on the agenda.
Right, well, as always, thank you to staff for your preparation and the presentations today. It was great. I will ask now for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Will you vote? Board Member Allen?
Aye.
Okay. I don't think I need to wait for the vote to come up. Not seeing our vote. Oh, there it is. It's on that screen. Okay, by a vote of 6 ayes, no nays, you've voted to adjourn the meeting today. Thank you, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.